Hey guys, I'm Andy Corbin.
And I'm Mr. Campbell.
And we're here to talk about another section of tines and blinds. And so today, I know you can't feel it, but Mr. Campbell, deer hunting is in the air, is it not?
It is absolutely in the air. This Saturday, it's Thursday right now. This Saturday is the first day of muzzleloader season.
Right.
So the first day I can get a gun in the woods this year, and I will be there, I guarantee it.
Right, and this weather just makes the bucks more active.
Absolutely.
It gets me excited, and every deer hunter I know you're excited too. And so today we want to talk to you just a little bit about food sources. And so you see here on my tailgate, back behind me between me and Mr. Campbell, you see some bags of corn. And so, Mr. Campbell, why would these bags of corn be helpful in our deer hunting?
You know, I tell you, where every spot I hunt, and I probably, in the different places I hunt, I probably have 7 stands up right now.
Yeah.
And probably 2 or 3 that I really hunt often. Now, the reason that I might hunt one stand more than another, a lot of times comes down to food sources.
Right.
And the problem is, though, I can't always have a great food source like a bean field or a cornfield. I can't always have that great food source exactly where I need it.
Right.
So sometimes what I have to do is artificially bring this food source to me.
Right. And food sources are important because, just like we talked about with our camera segment, you want to try to pattern the deer. And patterning deer goes from bedding where they sleep to where they travel to eat, because that's how a deer's life revolves, other than in the rut when it's mating season. So if you can find a good food source, you know you're going to have more deer coming to where you have a chance to harvest a nice deer.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've talked about, or that I look at, for the last 3 months, really, one of those things that I get on early in the season is start prepping my food sources.
Right.
So I have a couple of different stands where I'll put out something like corn, or in this bag right here, we actually have one of my favorite things that I get from actually my parents. Have 3 apple trees out in their front yard, and this time of year the apples are kind of done for the year, but they'll start dropping these apples on the ground. And I have 2 kids, and I love child labor, so I send them out there, start picking up bags, and I'll throw those out in my cameras. And I can tell a significant difference in the deer that I catch on camera when I have apples out and when I only have corn out.
Right. And again, apples are a great food source. Anytime you can find an apple tree, a persimmon tree, any of those things in the woods, deer are going to eat them. Now, deer will eat acorns and off of oak trees and hickory nuts and things like that, walnuts. Those are all great food sources, but it seems like this time of year they love the corn, and those apples and persimmons, boy, if you can find those, they're really going to draw in those deer. And so that's what we're trying to do, right, is we're trying to create a food source where more deer will want to come to the area where you have a stand. And so I know I'm like you. I don't have as many stands up. I've only got 3 or 4, but I have corn that I put out on those or close to those stands to create a food source to draw in those deer.
So how do you so you have your corn that you put out in front of your stands. So how do you get that corn out to the deer? What do you do with it?
Well, there's a lot of different ways people do it. I'm kind of cheap when it comes to that. I buy it in 50-pound bags, as you can see back here behind us. You can get those at Walmart. You can get them at Calhoun's Feed in Madisonville. And this time of year, it depends on what the going rate for corn is, but it's about $6.50, around 6 something for 50 pounds. And I just put mine out on the ground. I put a camera over top of the pile where they can take pictures of what's using the corn. But I will actually put out the 50-pound bag on the ground. Now, I know you probably have some feeders, don't you?
Well, I do, and I have a couple different types. And I tell you, years ago when I first started really feeding my deer, probably 10 years ago, I thought I had to have the biggest and the best.
Right.
So I go out and I'm buying $200 Moultrie feeders, and they're automatic, and you set them up on times and time. And honestly, the thing that I have found best, I go to Lowe's. And a lot of times they'll have stuff where people have cut it, or there's people that returned it, and they'll even have it on sale. I find a good 6 or 8 inch piece of PVC, and I put a Y on the bottom of it, and I fill it up with corn. And the deer, I'm telling you, I didn't think they would, honestly. but the deer will walk right over to it, stick their head down in that Y, and eat corn straight out of it.
They sure will.
So it gives them, it restricts the flow a little bit, so your corn will last a little bit longer, but you're not going out and paying $200 for a feeder. You know, I've only got $30 in this feeder that I have in front of one of my brand new blinds right now.
And, you know, there's several type of feeders that you can buy. You've got those expensive ones that hold up to, you know, 700-800 pounds of corn that have machines that spin and timers on it. Then you have just gravity feeders that are a lot cheaper. And again, they're kind of like, that's what you're talking about, is a gravity feeder that's just a PVC pipe with a piece on the bottom, and you pour the corn into the PVC pipe. It comes out the bottom. I've got a couple of those, and I've even had some people buy some of these vinyl ones. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
kind of vinyl sleeves, and when you fill them up, they expand, and they're kind of like that as well. But honestly, I'm just pouring mine out on the ground because where I am, the corn, 50 pounds, is gone in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So the weather doesn't affect it. It doesn't, you know, mildew or rot. But I know some of my friends that put out these bigger feeders or do some of the things like you do to protect it from the weather, because the deer aren't eating on it as much. And so I think that's really important. But like you said, and I wish I had an apple tree or persimmon tree down where I am, because that's definitely a place that you want to hunt and deer are going to show up. But the main thing is to try to pattern the deer.
Absolutely.
Get the deer coming to where you are so that you can have a better chance to kill a big buck.
Hey guys, and since I've started putting these apples out, I'll just be honest, I didn't have a lot of great deer on camera at the first of this year. Since I started putting the apples out, the bucks have started showing up. So maybe we'll show you some of those pictures coming up.
Mr. Corbin, no apples, no big bucks. So we're going to try to get some pictures on to you next time, but hopefully you'll go out. And I know this past weekend was youth season.
Yes, it was.
And I've seen some pictures of you guys killing some nice deer. Muzzleloader comes in this coming Saturday, and Mr. Campbell and I are probably going to be in the stand Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll have a couple pictures to show you guys next week. So for Mr. Campbell, I'm Mr. Corbin, and we'll see you next time on Tines and Blinds.
See you guys.